been before. She wondered what would happen if she just walked right through the front door of the Atlantic Club and signed the register as a member. She wondered what would happen if she sat down on a bench on Main Street and just waited. Just. The word kept running around in her head. A truncated version of justice. If it was justice she wanted, she would have been more likely to get it if she'd stayed away. She checked her watch again, trying to make herself see the dial. It was useless. She couldn't concentrate. There had been a time in her life when she was afraid of nobody and nothing, but that time was not now. Now the tension was rising in her body like water in a rain gauge during a heavy storm. Chapin shifted in her seat. She had been sitting in one position for too long. Her legs were beginning to ache. The radio station she'd been listening to kept promising lots and lots of rain for the end of the week. There was a hurricane coming north in the Atlantic, and so far it had missed all its usual landfalls. Chapin remembered her oldest sister telling them about the flood in 1954, when most of the houses on Beach Drive had had their porches washed away in the mess. There had been another storm, too, in the 1930s. That one had been so huge entire neighborhoods were washed away, and the Atlantic Club lost its terrace and all its awnings. I'm stalling, Chapin thought. It had been decades since she thought about her life as a child in this place. The long summer evenings when the light had faded so gradually it seemed to go on forever. The fall mornings when the roads were covered in leaves and the porches were full of old clothes stuffed with straw. The just-before-dawn darkness in winter, when the cold was so bitter, keys froze in locks. Most of the time these days, she couldn't remember a point when she hadn't known the things she now knew. This was the point. Herself, lying in the tall grass under the spreading maple tree at the front of the house, feeling the breeze in her hair as she let small kittens climb up her shirt and nuzzle at her neck. Kittens, she thought. It was as if she were about to star in an animated Disney movie. She put her hand in the tote bag one more time to make sure the gun was still there. Then she turned the key in the ignition and put the car into reverse. The longer she stayed here, the more likely it was that somebody would not only see her, but put two and two together. It didn't matter that it had been 30 years. People remembered things. She edged the car out onto Beach Drive, made a careful U-turn, and then made a right on the road that would take her around to the beach by the back way. It was eerie how deserted everything was. Like one of those ghost towns in a Stephen King novel, all the people had been turned into vampires. She got to that part of the road where the sand started creeping in and pulled over to the side. From here she would have to walk. She got out and took the tote bag with her, but she didn't bother to lock the car's 4 doors. Nobody ever locked their doors in Alwych. And besides, she wouldn't be coming back. 2. Out on Beach Drive, Chapin Waring was trying to do the one last thing that had to be done before she could say she'd had a good day. It was hard, because the knife was a long-bladed kitchen one, and it was sunk halfway to the haft under her left shoulder blade. She couldn't reach it, no matter how she twisted. Twisting made her hurt, anyway, and she was losing a lot of blood. There was blood everywhere now. It made a trail across the hardwood floors from the dining room to the hall to the living room. It was in the kitchen where the tall French doors had been folded back to let in the air from the ocean. In this house, everything was clean and calm and settled, but everything was dead as well. The chairs around the table in the breakfast nook were just far enough away from each other to look as if people had been sitting in them. The Royal Dalton china was stacked behind the glass doors of a double-fronted china cabinet, with pieces to make a service for 34. The long, low hall cabinet had been dusted and polished. The 2 green silk-upholstered love seats in the living room sat across the wide square coffee table from each other. The living room